look around on Discord during the show.
Right.
That's weird to me because usually I can't move.
Trying to see if we're live on Twitch. Yep, we are. All right.
What's up?
We're going to be competing with Apex.
Well, I mean, we're
It's gonna
competing
be
with
them.
everything.
And then us.
And ZP's streams on too.
This is true. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to OWL by the Numbers, your source for all things fantasy Overwatch League. I am your host, Tumley Drunk, and tonight on episode 4, we'll be taking a look at some last-minute tank swaps that are affecting multiple teams in the league. We'll remind you which players aren't eligible to play as of yet, whether this is due to player suspensions or BN17. And of course, we'll share our thoughts on how to prepare your lineups depending on what sort of scoring system your fantasy leagues are using, because there are two different types on highnoon.gg. But before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-hosts, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is hanging out with us tonight for our live show on Twitch. And of course, thank all of our repeat listeners. So joining me tonight are all three of my co-hosts. It's another full house tonight, but Ed, you're not going to be in the timeout corner tonight. So, you got that going for you. So, you won't have to worry about any of that sort of shenanigans. But back again, we have Blazing Bob, Edinar, and Julian Gouldian. And guys, we're hot off the heels of two of our major fantasy drafts, and we're one day away from the OWL Network host draft. There's going to be a ton of shenanigans going on with that, but let's take a moment to reflect on the week that was. Bob, how has this past week been treating you?
It's the memes that were the community countdown was kind of interesting. The 1v1s have been interesting, but all it's done is made me excited for the Overwatch League, and yeah, that's basically it. I'm just worn out from being so excited waiting, and I have to pack tonight. Like it's going to be a wild week for me.
Absolutely. The hype is definitely at a high as it is opening week of the 2019 season. And there's a lot to be excited about, even in what was a pretty dark day, at least for Active Blizzard, with all the layoffs happening today. So definitely, we feel for everyone that has found themselves without a job as of today. And it's been, the one bright spot about this is the fact that, we see just the outpouring of support from the community. A lot of other game development companies have been posting, their needs, and these people definitely get to land on their feet. But getting back to it, Ed, we are 2 days away from kickoff, and there's a lot to be excited about. So what are you gearing up for this week?
Well, I thought the community showdown countdown would really get me hyped up, and it just didn't. It was a massive letdown. It could have been handled better. Presently, I know right now the first big Apex tournament's going on, but they have the final day of the community countdown, and it has 2,000 viewers. Where's the support, Blizzard, on this? Why are you not advertising this more? This is supposed to get people pumped up, but it's just been a giant, crap show of a preseason. But regardless, the drafts are what really got me into, OWL starting up on Thursday. So yeah, we have 2 drafts already, 1 more draft tomorrow. Then the Unlimiteds, then the Pick'ems, and then I'll probably sneak into 1 more Fantasy Standard draft. But yeah, no, I'm having a good week, having a great week actually. And just getting prepared. I think the thing that I'm most excited for is we record Heroes Never Die on Wednesdays, and all of last season we would be recording, and then there would be matches on, and now it's I don't have to pretend I'm not looking at my second monitor during the show, which I'm sure you couldn't tell I was doing. But I mean, so we could record without having the matches going on at the same time. So
yeah, you do realize your glasses reflect exactly what you're looking at on screen.
Yep. It's going to be There's nothing I can do about this. Awkward. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right, and last but not least, we have my co-manager of our fantasy Overwatch league, at least for one of the fantasy leagues, that being none other than Julian Goulding. Julian, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Totem. It's been a pretty good week. I have done okay in my personal drafts that I haven't had you to carry me in, but it's going all right. I am very excited for the season to finally start on Thursday. And who knew that? I mean, we thought like stuff would kind of settle down once we got closer to the season starting and once we finally started locking in, but no, news just continues to pick up and continues to get even more frequent. So it's already been an interesting week and we haven't even started playing yet.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like these last couple of days, there's just been like this huge influx of news out there, and some of it is pretty big because it's affecting, a pretty important role when it comes to some of these teams. So first up, we have a change outside of the Shanghai Dragons camp, at least with their main tank position. And I know we got an update about that earlier today. So Julian, why don't you go ahead and let everyone know what is exactly going down with the Shanghai Dragons right now?
Yes, sir. So late last week, around Wednesday or Thursday, if I'm correct, not 100% sure, we got word from Shanghai that Fearless was going to be taking a health leave, that he was going to be going back to Korea to kind of recuperate. And we were all very confused. We thought, who is Shanghai going to put at main tank? I mean, just before show, we heard Geguri might be main tank. What seems to be the official statement was that, well, not official, excuse me, the Dragons didn't say anything about that, but the main rumor was that Young Jin was going to be the main tank for Shanghai in the coming weeks. And it turns out that because he couldn't prevent himself from stirring crap one more time before the season started, Huck traded Gamsu over to Shanghai at the 11th hour. So Shanghai has just picked up Gamsu from the Boston Uprising, in case you weren't aware. Gamsu was their main tank who started throughout the entire season, mostly doing very well at Winston and occasionally here with Orisa, although his Reinhardt was a little lacking for some people. He was, of course, a constant starter for their magical Stage 3 run where they went undefeated except for in the playoffs. So he's definitely a solid pickup. He's definitely someone who, I mean, if we're being just raw skill here, is a definite upgrade from Fearless. So I think Shanghai really got a good value from this. And so they get to build around a much more solid main tank, although he doesn't necessarily have at least up to date, we haven't seen him play yet. We don't know what his skill on Ryan and Orisa would be. Also, looking over to Boston, so we have Axiom moving up from kind of splitting time with Gamsu up to being the starter for main tank for Boston. And then we also got word today that Fusions from the Boston Uprising Academy is going to be moving up to the main team, no longer a two-way player. He's going to be a main roster member starting this week. So I wanted to ask you guys, stuff has changed so quickly. And I know some people did draft Gamsu initially with him being a Boston tank. So do you start Gamsu this week? Do you keep him in your lineup? Do you pick him off waivers? And also, what would you think about looking at Axiom as a fantasy pickup?
Oh man, this is a tough one because earlier today I know they released an article on the Overwatch League website and they were talking about the main tank position for the Shanghai Dragons, and in that article they basically said outright, hey, we are starting Yunjin at main tank. Now I don't know if that has changed since Gamsu getting picked up by the Shanghai Dragons, but I do want to note, regardless of who's main tank, it is going to be someone named Yunjin because you got Yunjin the player, and then also Gamsu's name is Yunjin. So there is that, just to further confuse people. So I don't know if they were trying to be meta or if it was just purely coincidental. But I feel like right now, since it's so close to the start of the season, if they already had the plan put in place where they were going to move Yunjin back to main tank, and this is a player who in the past has played main tank back before he went over to Kontu Pantera. This is back when he was on WNV Korea. And it's been over a year. But I still feel like, regardless of how long it's been, just due to the fact that he's already been scrimming with the Dragons, that Yunjin is going to be the one starting. But I would not be surprised to see maybe Gamsu come in for a map or two throughout this week's schedule for Shanghai.
Well, and looking at the Boston side, it's crazy because if Dive comes back in some shape or form and it's Winston Diva, I mean, Note and Gamsu were two of the best duos of those two heroes. So I think Huck's just like banking on the fact that he thinks Goats is going to be pretty strong for a while. Bringing up fusions, he could definitely play Rhine. So I think Huck probably got some money for it too. I mean, if he's making the company money, sometimes you don't have to win.
Yeah, like that's been the MO for Boston Uprising since day one, really. It's kind of been, let's get these young talent that nobody's heard of, get them good, and then get rid of them. And like kind of build, like, they're in the making money business. They're not in so much the making, championships business. And it works both ways. Like they hit on a lot of players last year and all of them are gone one way or another. So Gamsu was, I think, the last of the group.
Calyx is still there.
Oh, and Note too.
And Note. Oh. So there's two people left out of that original roster.
Still left that could get traded before the season hasn't started. But I wouldn't. I mean, I think it's it's good for Gamsu to get off of Boston because, you go to a team where you don't have a true backup. Yes, you have Youngin, who is going to be like the default backup, but I don't think Gamsu has to worry about losing his job. But in Boston, you had two main tank backups behind him. So, like, who knows if he'd get playing time. So from a fantasy perspective, like, I have Gamsu in the league we did with Foul Play. And I couldn't be more excited because, it's like getting that running back that splits carries with someone get traded to a team that doesn't have a running back. Like, your starting tank had two backups and they get traded to a team that has no starting tank. So it's like, it's a win-win. So Gamsu just shot up the board for me when he starts playing, but it's not going to start playing this week, maybe even next week, probably week 3 is when you're going to see him in there full time.
I also think, I mean, if we remember last year, Gamsu kind of took at least 2 weeks off middle of the year due to some either disagreements with management or just he wasn't happy. We already knew during mid-season at least, and it became more prevalent during the offseason, that he was particularly one of the group of people that was very unhappy with Boston, and he was on the trading block a couple times from what rumors had said. So I think this is overall a net win for him. And I think though he may not start immediately, I think he's definitely going to be someone to keep an eye on. And I think it also elevates the rest of Shanghai by a little bit too. I know a lot of people have been very iffy about whether or not they would start anybody on Shanghai except for maybe Luffy and if you're Bob Gaguri. So I think that it definitely will upgrade the rest of Shanghai's fantasy chances. So here's to hoping it works out for everybody.
Back off my girl. Gaguri's going to play. It was a good pickup late.
No, Bob. No.
Yeah, and if everybody doesn't know that, me and Ed share a team in that draft, and I took her without his permission. It was bad. I felt bad, and then I gave him the next pick.
It wasn't that you took Gaguri without my permission. It's that we had both decided on one person, and you're like, nope.
I know. I changed it literally right when it happened. Yeah,
Like,
sorry about that.
With that being said, there is a scenario where if Gamsu does come into main tank, that means that Yunjin would move over to the Brigida role if it is going to be triple tank, triple support. So there is always that situation that could occur, but usually, like, whenever a new player signs with a team, it's usually like a 1 or 2 week like grace period to kind of like get the feeler out on the team, see how you gel with everyone, get that communication aspect, that synergy starting to build up. So for now, I would err on the side of caution with Gamzu,
Mhm.
but he's still going to have fantasy value. It just might not be an immediate payout. So give it a couple of weeks and we'll kind of keep an eye on it. But I would say for now, he's probably going to be the backup just until he gets kind of incorporated more into the Dragons organization. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a guarantee in his case. But this is not the only main tank swap that we have seen here in the past couple of days, Ed, as we have a similar situation happening within the Florida Mayhem. So what's going on in regards to the Mayhem?
All right, so two things happened with the Mayhem this week. The Mayhem, kind of their main tank from last year, Awesome Guy, who now goes by SNT, is going to be going to a backup / coach role. So he's going to stay on the active roster as a player, but he's going to be doing more coaching and like in case of emergency, break glass, bring back Awesome Guy. And then they signed another assistant coach. Yeah. So joins the Mayhem. He was the coach of Lucky Futures Zenith. They won 2 Chinese contenders titles, and it's another addition to the Mayhem coaching staff that has been up and down, to say the least, over the past 2 years. I think they've basically gone through 7 or 8 coaches at this point. So that basically paves the way for Swan to become the main tank. Like Swan and Zephyr will be your main tank, off tank. And I think they kind of made this decision. The announcement about Awesome Guy or SNT is more of a, hey, we don't want questions about who is going to be our main tank or anything like that. Like, nope, SNT is going to be a coach. He's going to be a player, but he's only going to come in if it's absolutely needed.
It's kind of the same role that Coco played on the Dallas Fuel last year. I mean, that's why he got moved to just pure coach. But I mean, it's kind of smart to keep him active on the roster in a situation. I mean, it's actually really smart.
Yeah, I like the move now. I like
maybe it's what Jake should do.
No. But then the thing is, what you have to do is you have to take Jake off the active roster. That's what you got to do.
We shall see.
Now, I actually liked Awesome Guy last year compared to his predecessor of Swoosh. Awesome Guy replaced Swoosh. You're just like, whoa, that's an upgrade. But I thought they could build on, Awesome Guy and Saya Player coming into this year, and I thought they were kind of building towards that, and then they went towards a whole different direction.
And Awesome Guy had a lot of hype coming out too. Like when he came in, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of people that called him, as someone who should move up, and so it's interesting that it was that short.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where this team. I don't know. I don't want to call them scary, but they are a team that could surprise a lot of people. With the right coaching, could be in the main word.
Right. The good thing is, though, at least when we look at the coaching side of things, now that they went out and picked up the LFZ coaches, they have that Korean presence on that coaching staff, because that was one of the big pieces that was missing from the Mayhem, kind of like going into this season. Like there was a lot of concern about like, well, how is the in-house really going to work when it comes to the communication on this team between the coaching side of things and then the players? So now at least that's more at ease. And when we talk about like the fantasy value of the tank duo now, I feel like a lot of us, at least in all the leagues that we've been in, a lot of people have been very hesitant to actually have drafted SNT, and I don't think that we're going to see like a huge stock value increase when it comes to Swan. But when we're talking about that tank duo, Zephyr is probably going to be like a very, like probably 11th, 12th round pick, but I still don't think it's going to be enough to bring Swan up in regards to his overall value, even if he is basically going to be guaranteed playtime for this team.
No, it's the starting quarterback before this year. The starting quarterback from the Browns, he was a starter, but he was still for the Browns. Like, he's a main tank, yes, but he's a main tank for the mayhem. That's
Well,
not saying a whole lot.
and then you also have to think, I mean, they might have just made him a coach out of necessity because if you're the mayhem, first off, you don't have a lot of cash to throw at players or coaches, and then you've got this reputation that might make it hard to bring in actual talent.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's the other thing is like where I actually thought you were going with this, Bob, and Totem, you touched on it. Is yes, they signed but before they had no Korean presence in the coaching staff because they had fired their head coach who was Korean, which just made no sense. So you take the communication that awesome guy had learned in the Overwatch League, and he'll be able to better communicate with the likes of Apply and Tavik, and then with Mineral and Promise, the coaches, he could be like a go between them. Now they brought in but I think awesome guy or S&T is going to be that guy who's going to be the kind of like the go between the head coach and the players. So I think he could fit that role as well.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let's move on, because I know there are still some people out there that haven't done their drafts yet, and we just want to remind people that there are certain players that are in the draft pool that currently are either going to be under suspension or they are 17 right now and won't be able to compete until they turn 18. So, Bob, why don't you go ahead and do an overview about like who's on the discipline tracker and what players are affected by being underage at this time.
You got it, Totem. Well, first off, I want to remind everyone that does fantasy to weekly check the discipline tracker. We will have a link in the show notes. It's going to be something you want to check often, or we'll probably tell you about it on this show. But players who are currently 17 is also a issue, right? We've got Stratus and Decay. Stratus from Washington Justice, Decay from the Los Angeles Gladiators, and they are both going to be eligible the end of this month on February 27th. But then you have Nero, DPS for the Guangzhou Charge, who will be eligible May 31st. And then Rise, Flex support for the Guangzhou Charge, eligible April 30th. So, did you want me to tell them who's actually on the discipline tracker, or is that something that they should just probably go check out for themselves?
I mean, we could quickly go over it, but I will say, like, out of the players that are currently underage, Decay out of those four has probably been the one that's been picked up the most out of everyone, just because one is on a really good team in the LA Gladiators, and two, that's the other big part of that, duo sign-in from Call into Panthera that the Gladiators picked up. So Decay is going to be an absolute star power DPS player, but you gotta wait a couple of weeks. But I'm not gonna say like him being underage and not being able to play for 13 days is gonna be like a major blow to where he's getting drafted, at least round wise.
Yeah, and in the draft that I got him in, which was the foul play one, I believe. I mean, I got him late, like round 7 or 8, maybe even 9. So I wouldn't, but it just all depends on your league, right? I mean, our league wasn't taking a whole lot of DPS early. I mean, I think only Julian was doing that. So
I wanted to make sure.
You had to get those backup DPS in there.
Yeah, he needs to get the DPS for the GOATS meta,
EQ and Fleta will start. They'll do fine.
Yep. As for the people on the discipline tracker, I encourage you to go check it out yourself. But Crystal is one that's serving a suspension for 1 game for account boosting. Neko, you might have picked up. suspended for 3 games for selling an account. And then the rest of them, I don't know. Do you guys think, I mean, maybe apply, but do you think anybody
Violet.
else is really okay? Violet. I don't really know a lot
Violet,
about
100%.
Violet.
I know. I specifically like. This is probably the only week you can 100% with confidence start Sleepy,
Mm-hmm.
because Violet will not be playing at all this week, but Sleepy was also really solid last year, so he's definitely like a start. You don't need to worry about him. So Sleepy's a good start this week. I'm sure he's available in a lot of leagues on waivers, just because I know at least in the foul play league that we're in, he didn't get picked up. So he's definitely someone you could look at starting. And then also make sure that if you are like me and you picked up Neko and forgot he was suspended for at least a game or two, to take him out of your lineup, so you don't automatically lose the totem super badly first week of the season.
Damn. I don't think any of these disciplinary players, none of it should affect their draft status though.
No.
Mm-hmm.
None of it is long enough. Like really after week 1, it's going to be like, okay, they didn't play last week.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
it.
looking at these disciplines, I mean, Sato had to be the kingpin of the boosting world international. I mean, 30 games. I mean, he had to be the guy, big boss. Like he was the kingpin, because that's all I could see.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But across the board, just keep an eye on it. But regardless of where people are drafting them, in some situations, you could see Violet and Neko going in the very early rounds as flex support is a pretty hot commodity in regards to fantasy Overwatch League. But really across the board, you can feel safe drafting any one of these players, regardless of, the current length of suspensions, because they're not, quite to the extent of what we saw in Season 1. But I do want to touch up on the options for scoring in Fantasy Overwatch League with highnoon.gg, because there are 2 different scoring methods. Now, this is completely up to the league commissioner, and you have raw scoring as well as regular scoring available on High Noon. So with the regular scoring, that basically takes the best score when the players are playing multiple games in a week. So let's say, you put up 18 and a 24, it would use the 24 for that given player. Now, with raw scoring, basically, all the points are additive. So if you play 2 games, you will get points for both games and not just your best one for that week. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, for a lot of people, they might be wondering, well, what scoring system is going to be right for your league? Now, if you want to kind of take the brains out of it to an extent, that I would say just go with the regular score, and it's going to be a lot easier to manage. And for players that maybe are new to fantasy or are just new to the Overwatch League as a whole, regular scoring is definitely the way to go. And at least with raw scoring, there's going to be a little bit more thought process kind of added to who you start in each week. And you're going to have to keep an eye on, okay, am I playing 1 game? Am I playing 2 games? And you're going to have to kind of look at the strength of schedule, because there might even be some situations where, let's say you only play 1 game, but you face a really weak opponent. And let's say on the other side, you have 2 tough games. You might actually go with the person that's playing less games. There's a lot of things that you have to kind of keep an eye on with that. But I will say, with the Foul Play League that we're doing, that one is using raw scoring. And I don't know how you guys went about doing your drafts, if you had any sort of strategy, but I tried to go a unique route where I didn't have any teams that were doubled up. So everyone is on a unique team, and I'm really curious to see how exactly that's going to play out in that type of league.
I had the same strategy you did, Totem, but I misclicked on Custa after I already had space. So that's the only double up that I have. And it's very possible I will be hitting the waiver wire for something else.
You can give me space if you don't want him.
I'll take
You want
space.
Custa? I got Custa. We can talk here.
I mean, he's not in space, but we can talk.
Well, that being said, guys, what do you really think about like the raw scoring and like what do you think that really adds to a fantasy Overwatch League, knowing that you're having to kind of factor in just more things when it comes to your players?
I think it just adds complexity to the league. I mean, it's it might not be for everyone. I mean, everyone might not want to spend a lot of time every week like really thinking that out, because you're gonna have to pull up multiple screens. You're gonna have to pull up the schedule. You're gonna have to pull up the games. So it just be a lot more prep work for the raw league. But I'm going to be doing both of them, so I'm excited about both, and it really is just a question of what's best for you as a player.
I definitely think so. Oh, sorry, I go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I didn't take it into account really all that much because, yeah, you don't want to stack up people on the same team. Obviously, if you can avoid it, but it wasn't ever a deciding factor. Sometimes those connections can work out for you in the end, or something like that. Now, if you're going with raw data, yeah, it can start to be too much, and there's a lot of min-maxing that will have to go into account every week. But that's why you also have the unlimited leagues. Those unlimited leagues are where the raw data or raw averages should really shine, like the people who love to micromanage. Whereas, the regular is just something for, it's not for the people who want to micromanage their team day in, day out, day in, day out. And that's fine. Like I see the benefits to both scoring systems. It's just I don't take either one of them into account when I do my drafts. I take more into account if cut like for Bob, Costa and Super. Those are two people. They're going to be on the field the entire time. So what if they play at the same time? They're either going to do really well together at the same time, or they're going to do real bad together at the same time. But more than likely, you're going to do good.
It just depends if you want to have that chance. Like, yeah, it'll be really good at times, but really bad at times. Whereas with people on multiple teams, if you have 12 players on 12 different teams, you have a more likely chance to have multiple people having 2-game weeks. So really just kind of, I mean, it's a preference, but I believe it's just easier to manage when you have players from all different teams in a raw league. It's just it's just easier to manage.
Yes, and like one other thing like to add to that is, how often are you actually going to be switching it out? Because when like we're in foul play, like we're in an 8-person, that's where we're going to be using the raw data. It's an 8-person league. Are you going to be sitting? I took Meko in the first round. Am I going to be sitting Meko if he's only playing 1 game instead of 2? Probably not. Are you going to be sitting Jonak? Are you going to be sitting Prophet? Are you going to be sitting Super? Like, there's so many good players out there that are drafted. I'd say the first 3 rounds, you're not going to bench those people if they only have 1 game that week.
It depends.
For someone on the Washington Justice that has 2 games that week. It's one of those things where sometimes you have to take the quality over the quantity.
Well, in most of mine, I took 3 tanks that will for sure play every game and 3 supports that will for sure play every game. So yeah, I'm going to sit the ones that only have 1 game. I'm going to play the other one regardless of if I think the person with 1 game is better, because it's double points. Even if they're not going to be double points better, you know what I mean?
Certain people will, certain people won't. It's like the 2-start pitchers in baseball.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, it's like, so you're really going to have to take matchups into it. You're really going to have to take into to see who's actually playing, stuff like that. So
yeah, same with like taking a look at like what the average point per week or per game has been for the players too, because that could be another deciding factor for people.
It'll
I
make it a
also-
lot easier as it goes on. Sorry, Julie, you were saying?
No. My bad, I interrupted. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say I know we're talking about this, and we expect there are gonna be very massive changes and differences in points between 2 game players and 1 game players. But until we really see the games played out in front of us, it's also going to be hard. And all those numbers converted to stats, we're not going to have a great idea. I guess we're not going to have a solid yes, this is the best way idea until about a week or 2 into the season. But I think the main thing is to make sure when you're looking at your scoring data, that when you're looking at what you're going to do for the rest of the year, talk it out with your league, figure out which scoring system you're going to go with. And unless you have a very forgiving league who's really interested in changing midway through, stick with the same system, please. I know I've heard from a lot of people last year with Winston's Lab, but that was their biggest complaint, was that I think almost every other week it would switch scoring metrics, or a new type of points enter would come in, and it was incredibly frustrating. So whichever method you pick, just make sure you try and stick to it as much as possible, unless your league wants something different.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's move on and talk about another new addition to a team out there that could see his fantasy stock rise. And this is assuming he's been added to the player pool, because I know last time when we checked, he wasn't added as of yet. But again, this is a really recent addition. So, Ed, we got a new sign-in for the Atlanta Reign, and it was a kind of a little trolly, a little bit of a debate. So what's going down with Atlanta?
All right, so Dogman, who was on LNL, I mean the Atlanta Academy team, and he released on Twitter that he was looking for a team, which sent everybody into a tizzy. And if you follow the Overwatch scene, you're not falling for that crap anymore. So you knew something was up. And then a few hours later, Dogman was announced to be on the Atlanta Reign as their new support player. Now, the first question out of everyone's mouth is, well, after congratulations, is what about Kodak? Because Kodak is their flex support. He's their Zenyatta, their Anna, all that stuff. And I mean, time will tell. I mean, I think they're going to give the benefit of the doubt to Kodak out the bat. And I think they're going to give Kodak every chance to, keep his way on the team. Yeah, it's not like Dogman is some amazing, oh my God, can't miss prospect that we have to start on our team right away. No, he was good for the Atlanta Academy team. And he'll probably start over Kodak at some point, but I don't think right away he will. I don't know. What do you think his fantasy value is going to be?
Well, he's part dog and part man. I don't know how that equates to fantasy value, but when we kind of look at the draft so far, Kodak has definitely been a sought-after support player. I'm not going to say he's been top 5 or maybe to an extent top 8, but he's usually 9th or 10th for the most part from what we have seen. But if you've picked Kodak up, I wouldn't be too worried yet. Kodak had his flashy presence in regards to the Overwatch World Cup this past year. And Dogman, while he might be a more well-rounded player, and he's kind of been through, the thick of things, kind of through all the path to pro, all the way up to now being in the Overwatch League, he does play a little bit of everything. So there could be some situations where we might even see Dogman move over to main support at some time and maybe see some play time over Mazab. But for now, if you're a Kodak, league owner, I wouldn't stress too much. This is a very last minute thing.
You'll still have your Kodak moment.
Yes, you will always have your Kodak moment. It's just a matter of, is Kodak going to get his 5Ks like he did in the Overwatch World Cup? But Ed, I just want to note, you and I covered Contenders North America on Heroes Never Die, and there was a certain episode
where Dogman dies every single time?
Yeah, he was the first one to die. So I just hope for Dogman's case, he just stays out of that spawn room. We don't want to see him put in the kennel or anything like that. He needs to be on the field of play to see that fantasy value rise.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Dogman say that he got into the Overwatch League, he would rock a bowl haircut for a year.
A Korean bowl cut was his exact term.
Yep. Okay. So
So
I'm waiting for that.
Well, we
Let's
have
go
to
do-
see him. We have to see him on stage first.
I will note he recently did get a haircut, but he needs to grow it out in order for him to get the Korean bowl cut, because he did already make mention of it, because as soon as he got signed, it was all over the competitive Overwatch Reddit.
Mhm.
So the community was on top of it.
Now, going back to what Totem was saying, that I forgot who they were playing. Was it Fusion Uni? I can't remember who LNL was playing. But man, I actually had to track how much Dogman died. Like, I had a tally mark going of how much, not only died, how often he was the first one to die. And it hit double digits.
And
That
if
he
you're
was
playing
the
Winston's, if you're playing Winston's Lab fantasy, that matters too. So don't take him in Winston Lab fantasy drafts.
No, like, I think he has potential. He's an aggressive Zenyatta, and he wants to be Jonak, but he's only one half of Jonak skill wise.
Doesn't everybody want to be Jonak though?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
can you really say that though? I mean, I don't know any other team that put as much resource into their Zen players. So I don't know if we could. There could be a lot of Jonaks if the resources were applied to the Zen player, but lots of teams played a very aggressive style rather than the passive dive style that NYXL played and mastered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we see so much shock value with like Badosian and Chaz, because they too were fraggers, but they didn't have as many resources kind of pooled to them in season
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, it's just Dogman was playing. They were playing in the Goats meta in contenders, and he was playing in the group. Like, no, you should not be with the tanks as the Zenyatta player. Like that is not where you should be playing, but that's where he would be, and like he'd just be easily picked off. So if he improves his positioning, which I'm assuming good coaching will
But
help.
You got to
Getting
remember
play
though,
calling from Sugar Free doesn't count as coaching.
the
As amazing as he is.
You gotta remember though, the Zen play is going to be a lot more staying with your tanks in a goats meta. So the Zen play is actually very different going into week one of this, Overwatch League season 2.
And even so, Kodak still has the starting job, one would think, at least for now.
Right. So one way or another, like if you're looking at getting Dogman, this is probably going to be a player that you're going to have handcuffed to, another flex support on your lineup. So he might be, third or fourth in the depth chart, depending on where you want to rank him. But for now, he's there. He's going to probably be on waiver wires, I'm assuming, as long as he gets added to the player base. But I don't think this is going to be a player that you necessarily are going to have to rush out to get. But not a terrible option, but it could be some time before he actually starts to see his playtime start to increase. But with that being said, we do have an update on our broadcast schedule this week. As we do have Heroes Never Die that records tomorrow night. That would be Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But Julian, we actually have something going on after Heroes Never Die tomorrow. So why don't you let everyone know what's going on then?
Yes, sir. We have our own Owl N host league. So it is our personal highnoon.gg fantasy Overwatch league that all four of us are going to be in, as well as Spider and Ren. Spider, of course, from the not Owl M show. Yeah. There's so many podcast names. I always get tongue-tied with it. Of course, Spider from the Overwatch League Network. And then, of course, we have Ren, who, if you are a longtime listener of the network, you might remember Ren from our Contender show, The Back Cap, that came out later in the week. So Ren will be joining us for that league. And then I'm not sure. We have 7 out of 10 right now. So I'm not sure who. Oh, Slambo. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Slambo will also be in that league. I know poor Slambo's going to kill me for it.
Poor Slambo.
Poor Slambo.
He's in the
But
abyss.
so just
He's in the abyss. Yep. The audio abyss has taken him once again.
just to recap so I can stop tripping over myself, we have Ednar, Spider, Totem, myself, Blaze and Bob, Ren, Slambo, and then right now, do we have an eighth? Because of course we have to have an even number of people to draft.
Right. We are going to have an eighth. We're waiting to hear back from one of the All Recap hosts, which Bob was reaching out to. But one way or another, I know it's not going to be too hard for us to find like a last minute fill in. So I'm not too stressed, but this is going to be an 8-man league. And of course, we're going to be streaming it live on this Twitch channel. I know, Bob, you're actually going to be drafting from the airport because you are leaving for Overwatch League for for the season openers. So.
I should be able to. I'm going to try and be in the correct. I'm going to try to be stationary at the airport with my laptop, so I should still be able to be on the stream.
Yeah, I will not be on the stream because I will be busy in a giant room full of 200 middle schoolers for middle school group for my church, but I will still be making my picks, so you won't be able to see my face, unfortunately, but I hope you still feel my presence deep in your heart.
But you still will get the flag from us because that just is never going to stop.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be weird drafting at the airport, especially if I'm talking to you guys, because people are going to be looking at me like, what is this dude doing?
What you got to do is you have to have like a phone up in your hand.
I'm going to bring the professional mic and hook up the Zoom H5 and just have it right there. People would be like, who is this guy? Right? I got the headphones on, and we're live from Denver International Airport.
Julian, I would like to point out, and I appreciate when you listed us, you listed me first because you just know that that's how it's going to come down at the end. Is Edinar first?
Whatever, you get yourself to sleep at night, dude. That's fine.
Yeah.
I look forward to Bob streaming live from the bathroom of Flight 43 Southwest.
No, my flight doesn't leave till. I mean, we start the draft 2 hours before my flight, so I'll try to be to the airport early and just get in early and just sit there and do my nerdy thing.
Bob's in the bathroom on the plane drafting. It's like the OWL podcast Mile High program.
Can you imagine the echo that would be in there?
Oh, it would be terrible.
I would make you draft effect. And you would have to do your effects screen.
Oh, but it's all worth it because I'm going to be there opening week and just got my media badge today. I'm pretty excited, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that being said, there's of course a lot of stuff that we could talk about opening week, but we pretty much already primed everyone both on Overwatch League Network as well as All Recap. So if you're looking for any sort of breakdowns, be sure to check out both of our respective podcasts. And of course, we'll be covering quite a bit of it tomorrow on Heroes Never Die as well. But opening week is finally here. So I just want to go down the line. What sort of matches or, what players are you most excited to see on stage for opening week? Bob, let's go ahead and start with you as you'll actually be there doing some media work.
Man, dude, I'm super excited about the Fuel. I am a diehard Fuel fan. I don't really take it I don't take that into account when I do analyst work. So I've really pumped them up, and so I'm really hoping to see a good performance. I want to see Effect back in Effect, and I want to. That's really what I'm excited most about. But I'm also excited just to see the new teams play. That I just want to know where to rate them, really.
Absolutely. And with that being said, I do want to note that we are working on OWL Network power rankings for our YouTube. Slambo's been working on that. That'll be coming here within the next couple of days, hopefully. So as soon as that video is out, I will post our actual rankings over on our website, on their Discord. I don't want to spoil anything as of yet with that sort of stuff. But Julian, what about you? What are you most looking forward to?
Can I say one thing though first?
Yeah.
You guys should tune in for that YouTube video because Slambo is pretty and you want to see this.
Yeah,
All I
I
had to say.
don't know if he's doing face cam or not. I guess we'll tune in to find out.
Sambo never gets out of the abyss because it doesn't want him to leave. Jeez.
Yeah, it's very cleany. But Julian, what are you looking forward to for opening week of the 2019 season?
Much to Ednar's chagrin, I am very excited to see my boys, the Houston Outlaws. I'm excited to see. Thank goodness, Papa Nate himself gave us two relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but like relatively like winnable matchups this first week. I mean, being an Overwatch League fan, you never can really assume something's for sure going to happen until the game is over and done with. So I also will be in the arena on on Friday and also on Saturday. So if you see anyone with a giant green hat on stream Friday and or Saturday, you at least know it's going to be me.
Wow.
Does that
I have
actually
no
have
words.
working
All I
dates
have
on
to
it?
say is hashtag Texas Soft.
Oh,
I still can't believe that's our hashtag. It makes me so sad.
Dude, but that hat is pretty awesome. I think you have it backwards though.
Oh, I probably do, but yeah, I have it. I had everybody's whatever. It's gonna
The
fall.
person behind you is going to be pissed.
Oh man, for the audio listeners, if you could see this hat,
I'll
it
put it
is
back on.
actually lighting up. It has batteries.
actually, I can. Yeah, someone
Can
just
you
clip
say
it.
the
Post-
line?
Somebody please clip that. Please clip that.
Can you say the lines? Linkser's mom has got it going on.
Where's Mel when we need her? Dang.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh.
I'm excited to see Houston play. I'm really excited to see all the new teams play, just because, I mean, especially Atlanta, but I'm really excited just to have more Overwatch League. I've been missing it for these past couple of months, and it's going to feel like home. I'm telling you, there's nothing really like going in the arena itself and seeing the giant screens, the whole like 2-story wall of all LEDs with these giant representations of all the different heroes and characters on there. It's kind of breathtaking, but I'm excited.
absolutely
For it.
nuts.
Me and Bob will hang out a little bit, of course. I know Bob's got much media stuff to do. He's a busy man, but we'll be around. We'll be in touch. We'll send a pic or two for you guys.
Awesome.
I cannot wait. But Ed, what about you? What are you most looking forward to with opening week?
Well, I think the two teams I'm going to probably pay the most the most attention to is the Spark and the Titans. I want to see how they do because they're the two hot young teams, new teams that are coming in that nobody really knows that could, be top 3, could be bottom 5. Like who knows? We just don't know at this point. Outside of that, I want to see how New York bounces back. Because, like, as good as they did last year, it was massive disappointment for them. And I want to see how they bounce back because, it's not like they... no, they do have a pretty easy first week. Really, Blizzard? They played Boston and Washington in the first week. Come on. But we'll see. I'm excited to see them play. I think I'm actually more excited to see Gladiators week 3 because I want to see what they do with the decay situation. Because it's like, I mean, you have Surefour, like,
And you have hydration.
Yeah, you have hydration. You have Surefour. You have decay.
But they were also the team that used to really love to run triple DPS.
True, but like that team in general is like, who are you going to sit? Like, you're probably not going to sit one of your healers.
Well, I mean, triple and quad DPS are what's actually beating goats in the lower tier scenes.
Yeah, but then you have to add in Roar, who I'm very excited. They have Panker. Panker's my boy from back, from the Legion days. Add on top of that Bishu and Void. It's just that team is going to be very fun to watch. Probably one of the most fun teams to watch in the Overwatch League once they get everyone in there. Because Ripa, who's their backup support, is real good, but also serving a 5-game suspension for toxicity. So, yeah.
Yeah, if only we could give the Gladiators a 5-game suspension for debating everyone and causing mass heart attacks across the community whenever they announce Reaper. But that's besides the point. As for myself, obviously seeing Runaway compete as Vancouver Titans for the first time is going to be a huge ordeal. I'm also greatly looking forward to seeing how the Spark do. That's why I'm wearing a Honshu Spark jersey right now. That and the fact that my bumper one isn't here as of yet. But in regards to actual storylines, that Dynasty Gladiators match week 1 is at the forefront of my mind. I want to see whether or not Fisher is going to be, in, because there's been a lot of talk about Fisher not actually being like the main tank in the Dynasty scrims. But I want that storyline aspect between Fisher and his former team and just how that post-game interview is going to go with him, because there can be a lot of shenanigans that can go down with that, and it will make for some really good streams.
Do you really think he's not going to play, or do you think that's some sort of trickery?
I feel like it's a debate. I feel like you go out of your way to get Fisher to not play him.
And especially since you never had a main tank presence all through stage 1 or all through season 1.
Right.
I feel like you've invested too much. You have to put Fisher in at this point.
Yeah, it's a debate. It has to be.
Oh, and don't forget that we have the rematch of the season finale of the season championships last year as our very first game with Philly and London.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about how London's been kind of slow to adapt to triple tank, triple support. So I'm really anxious to see how exactly that one is going to play out. Maybe Fusion are going to pull this one off.
Yeah, I think EQO and Carpe have been fuming for a long time now, months. And yeah, I actually called them. I chose the Fusion in Pick'ems. So see here. We will see.
All right. Well, with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, one of the best ways to do that is to go leave us a review over on iTunes. The last time I checked, I don't think we have any as of yet, but that could always change in the coming weeks ahead. We're always looking for ways to improve the show. If you're looking for additional Overwatch content, we have an awesome hub of Overwatch stuff in Overwatch Recall. So Bob, why don't you let our listeners know a little bit more about that?
Well, Overwatch Recall is a very special thing. You can find a listing of several Overwatch League, and Path to Pro podcasts over on our website at owlnshow.com/OW Recall. Excuse me. Episodic listings are released every Sunday night. To keep up to date with the podcast scene, follow Overwatch Recall on Twitter at OW Recall.
All right. And of course, if you guys want to support us further, we do have a Patreon that is set up. That is at patreon.com/OWL Network. We have tiers starting at just $1 a month. And I do know that we have a new pledge in Gabby Darko. So thank you, Gabby, again so much for pledging to OWL Network. We hope that you enjoy your stay and enjoy the perks of being part of our Patreon. And of course, and any sort of support is always helpful, whether it's just a simple retweet on Twitter, just showing up to the live shows, subscribing to our RSS feed, all of that stuff. Your support is greatly appreciated. But Ed, we have a pretty large network of podcasts, so why don't you let everyone know how they can get a hold of us and contact our show?
All right. Well, you can reach us on email at contact@owlnshow.com. Our website is owlnshow.com as well. We do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord, and that is at discord.me/OWLNshow. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are Twitch affiliates, so come help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network streams regularly. Bob, you're the weirdest person I know.
I just want to note that I have it on solo, so it just shows Ed, so they didn't see what you just
Oh,
did.
dang it.
I know, that's exactly why I did
Dang it. So for those of you who didn't see it, outside of me and Julian and Totem, Bob was like sticking his eyeball into his camera to try and distract me. So no.
You pushed
No,
through
Bob.
it too. I was impressed. You didn't break.
So we stream regularly. On Mondays, we have Overwatch League Network. Airs Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. On Tuesdays, we have OWL by the Numbers, this show presently, which airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Wednesdays, we have the show me and Totem do together, Heroes Never Die, which is our variety Overwatch show. And that's at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then tomorrow, after the show, we will be streaming our fantasy draft for the OWL hosts. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, not so much once the Overwatch League starts. We do host streams at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but probably not so much once all that fun jazz starts. I hate you, Bob.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect too many host streams Thursdays, Fridays moving forward, just because of the Overwatch League starting up. But I do want to note that Thursdays we are planning on doing Overwatch League viewing parties. So if you guys are watching the games, which you probably will be, because we're all fans of the Overwatch League, hop in our Discord into the viewing party voice channel, and you could talk to us as games are happening, chat with other members of our community, and of course you could always just talk about the games as they're going on in the respective text channel for the Overwatch League. And we hope to see you guys out there. I hope everyone tunes in to, season kickoff, and there's a lot to look forward to this season. But for now, guys, that is going to do it for us here tonight on OWL by the Numbers. Again, this has been episode number 4. I am your host, Emily Drunk, joined by Blazing Bob, Julian Goulian, Ed Edinar, and we will see you guys back tomorrow night for our season primer on
Socials.
Heroes Never Die.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, we didn't do social media.
Their socials. I mean, everyone should know where to find us at this point. But Bob, let's start with you. Where can they get a hold of you on social media?
Well, I will make this quick because I want to hear what Julian has to say here shortly. So you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB.
Sounds good. And Julian, what about you?
I'm still at QUEZ_Julian. I actually decided to move it to Ramses to do all that, and of course, this is the 1 week where that name doesn't get used at all, so I feel conflicted. But that's what the social stuff is still for now. That'll move over to a different handle next week, but for now, just at QEZ_Julian. And while I'm here, I wanted to make it known my bet with Ed for this next Overwatch League season. I have the one we have currently. I'm going to have one more because I can't stop myself. But
What was the first one we had? I make a lot of bets. I need to be reminded of these.
Well, the first one we had is the one I'm going to talk about. I feel like there
Okay.
needs to be one based on your and mine's standings, but we're in two different leagues together, so it's going to be a little confusing. No, it's well known, and maybe rightfully so, how much Ed hates my glorious anime boys, the Houston Outlaws, specifically the one with the second best hair in the league with Raucus. I've heard so much Raucus crap talk in and off stream from Ed that I could no longer stand it. So this first stop on the Raucus Redemption Tour, my bet with Ed, I challenge you for one. You do Overwatch, you do the league tokens for skins, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll do that for 1 skin's worth of tokens that my pride and joy, Raucus makes it to top 10 supports this year. Or is that too low?
Hold on, though. In Raw or in Standard?
Oh, because there's going to be 2 different. That's right.
I say since you guys are going up against each other in Raw, in the foul play, because it's me and Ed and Totem and you in the other league, I say you do Raw.
I think so too. I'm down with Raw scoring. What say you, Ed?
I will take this bet, but I need to come up with there has to be punishment for you if he's not in the top 10. So what do
I buy you? I buy you a skin. I thought that was the bet.
No. What we usually do is you get to pick the skin. So, I'll buy you a skin, but I get to pick what skin you buy. and you have to use it. So, if I win, you have to use. Well, you're going to be getting a Dallas Fuel skin. That's a given. I haven't decided who it's going to be yet, but you will be getting a Dallas Fuel skin. So, I will take this bet.
And then if I win, let's say, no, because you bought the pass last year, correct? So you already have the Junkrat skin.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go.
Do they have the announcer skin for Jake?
Oh, that's still on the PTR. They haven't put that one out yet.
Okay.
No, we'll go with, for his own sake, we'll go with the Zenyatta skin for Rockets.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, I accept this bet. Write it
It's a
down.
very, very lengthy bet. But Ed, where can listeners get hold of you on the social media?
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Edanar Overwatch. That's EDANAR Overwatch. So come follow me there.
All right, sounds good. And as for myself, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at TumbleDrunkCTR. And if we're live on Twitch, it will always be here on twitch.tv/OWLN show. So with that being said, now this time we're closing out the show for real. I'm not going to go through everything again because that would just be a complete waste of time. We will see you guys back tomorrow night for Heroes Never Die. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good
Let's
night.
go, dudes.